What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Charm City Heavyweights Podcast, brought to you by the great folks at Great H Sports Memorabilia. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. With me, as always, Josh Merrill. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Matt? I'm the star of the show, coming live from the man cave. Want to welcome everyone out there in the internet world into the man cave.
Whatever. Anyway, we have a special show tonight.
Before you
This is
say
the
anything,
Ravens.
you need no. Before we even get into anything, you need to apologize to the fans and the people of Baltimore for all the shame you put on Lamar Jackson.
That's real rich coming from you. We'll get to that later. Anyway, we have a very special show tonight. It is the Ravens draft recap. We are going to be talking the Ravens draft, the undrafted free agents, and the contract given to number 8, Lamar Jackson. Joining us all the way from Brazil, he is one of the biggest Ravens fans in the world. Coming to us live from Brazil, Pedro Rhormes. How are you doing, brother?
There he is.
I'm doing fine. What about you guys?
Thank you for
We're
joining the
jealous
show,
of you,
man.
man. We're jealous of your location.
It's my pleasure, man. Yeah,
Hey,
Brazil.
so
It's a little bit overrated, though. Don't mind about it.
hey, thank you for joining us, man. You were very active on the Ravens side of Twitter. I had the fortunate pleasure of meeting you through conversations and multiple tweets that you post about our dearly beloved Baltimore Ravens. So just kind of give everybody a background, Pedro. How did you become a Baltimore Ravens fan from, your home country?
Yeah, right. So back in Brazil, most of the people here don't speak English, actually. So if you want to learn English, you have to go to a private English school. And I was like 9 to 10 years old, and my English teacher he came up to class with a Mark Brunell jersey from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I was like, damn, that shirt's crazy, I like that. And he was like, oh, it's from football. And then we started to talk about it, and he told me that there was a channel here in Brazil that used it to broadcast a game like once every 2 weeks. And back in time in 2003, we only had like 2 or 3 broadcastings per month. And he told me, oh, this day of this week, there's going to be a live game there, and you can watch it. So I turned on that day, and it was a Ravens Steelers game. It was the game that Jamal Lewis broke the 2,000 rush yard marks, and the Ravens won in overtime.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, this game is so violent. I kind of like it." And since the Ravens won and their jersey was purple, so I kind of like it, and I started to following the team. And then after it, I just fell in love for the city, for the team, and everything that came along.
That's fantastic, man. It's great to see that the Ravens are having an international reach. So let's get right down to it, guys. We have had a very interesting 4 days, and like Josh alluded to
Got
before we
some
brought you
relief.
on, Pedro, I owe Lamar Jackson apology, even though he is probably not going to see this in any shape or form. I was
You never
convinced
know.
Pedro, that if you would have asked me a couple months ago, I would have thought that he was an Atlanta Falcon or maybe a Carolina Panther. And then leading up to the draft, when he had asked for a trade publicly at the owners' meetings, I had thought that he was going to be either a San Francisco 49er or an Indianapolis Colt. I stood corrected when essentially the Philadelphia Eagles negotiated his contract and the Ravens threw a couple more $1 million on the back end of that deal. Uh, 5 years, 260 million guaranteed. 260 million, 185 guaranteed. Pedro,
Right.
me and Josh have been talking about this nonstop on text messages, man. How do you feel about the Lamar deal?
I feel great. I mean, the Ravens needed to keep him, right? So eventually, I guess they would have to pay him anyway. Probably he wouldn't get the Deshaun Watson money because I don't think any NFL team will pay him that. So I mean, thinking about the player side, about Lamar's side, I think he was right about demanding for much money because as a player, you put your body on the line every Sunday, you know. So you can take hits, you can get injured. So it's your life on the line. But I also understand the team points as well because they want to preserve their money, and there's also salary cap and other guys to pay. But overall, I just wish it didn't took so long as it did because it was a lot of drama and fans talking trash and media talking shit too. So it could have been in an easier way, I guess, but it's fine. That's the nature of the beast, right? But I think for Lamar it was a good deal. At the end of it all, he became the top paid quarterback in the league. That's what he wanted anyway. So I think it worked well for both sides.
Josh, give me your thoughts, man. I know that we've talked about it privately, but uh, let everybody know how you feel about this contract.
I'm still in shock. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I've got to like see it on the internet to see the proof that it really happened because I thought he was out of here. I thought he was, I don't know where, the Colts, the Falcons, wherever. I just thought he was out of here. Maybe the new owners with the Commanders would have, grabbed him to sell tickets and showed her about change. Uh, it shocked me, man. When I heard the news, someone texted me about it, and I was texted you about it, and I was like, I don't know. And then you start seeing it on Twitter a few minutes later, and it just went crazy. And then the Ravens announced it. I was like, oh shit. It feel he got his money. I don't think it's crazy money. I think he had to give in a little bit. Um, he walked away with 185 essentially right now. Um, if he plays and does what he's supposed to do, he'll get 260, right? So I'm happy. And Lamar actually did us a favor because he pushed some of the money to the back. Since we gave him so much at once in advance and guaranteed, he pushed a lot of the big chunk. His salary really don't kill us till year 3, so he did us a favor too. So I owe him an apology as well. I thought he was being greedy and crazy. He just had a number he stuck with, and I'm glad it's over. DaCosta looked fucking exhausted. Harv's look exhausted. Like you could tell it's just been hell. They can say 2 years, but they really weren't pressed really until the last year. It's when it started getting tense. And both of them. Look, we went up a few million. Lamar came down a little bit. I think he got a little bit of humble pie. No teams offering him anything. Nobody even considering offering him anything. And realized, Baltimore's home, and I want to stay. I like his little video. They said what they said. Whatever it was. There was all this. He said, she said, and da 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 da. But now it's
The man,
Baltimore. So
the man
come on.
openly asked for a trade, though. So, and
He
he
did.
did. He did it on the morning of the owners'
But
meetings
did
in
he really want to trade,
Arizona.
or did he really want to trade, or was that his, trying to get their attention?
I think he was trying to get the attention. What about you, Pedro?
Yeah, I think he was just trying to push more money for himself, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to leave.
Yeah, I agree with what Josh said. I think he got a little bit humble too, especially by no team sending him offer. And I think the Jalen Hurts deal actually helped us a lot because
Yeah,
it settled like a pattern for the market, for the quarterback markets.
exactly. It reset the market. You gave him a few more. Can you imagine at the press conference, Eric DaCosta said he was sitting on his couch, and I forget what his favorite team is. Oh, the
The
Celtics. The
Boston, the
Celtics.
Boston
Celtics, yeah.
Six.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Celtics were losing, and he was in a shitty mood, and he was tired from the way he's telling the story. And then he gets a text right before he goes to bed from Lamar Jackson and says, "Hey, I think we're going to have a deal." And can you just imagine the relief and the happiness and the joy he felt? He said, "I
Right.
texted him back, Lamar, you just saved my night." He had to. It just had to feel like the weight of the world. I mean, I'm sure every person he knows personally, privately, was asking him about it. He said Harbaugh was coming to his office nonstop asking him about it. The media, I'm sure the owner, Bashotti, was asking about it. Like he just had the weight of the world on his hands, and he deserves a few days to rest.
Right.
and he proceeded to have a very good draft after the fact. He knocked out the
Get into
Lamar
it.
deal on 3 hours before the Panthers went on the clock. Lamar's deal gets done. All we know is the financial terms. We don't know what the yearly cap breakdowns were just at that point in time. But
For
then
Lamar's,
we didn't know
all
we didn't
we
know it
know
until
is that the big salary is year 3. That's all that's leaked.
and honestly that's probably extension time anyway. So if everything pans out, but Pedro he had a solid draft for the most pivotal offseason that he's had as a general manager of the Baltimore Ravens yet. And
Now we're talking.
we can say that about every draft class, but he drafted Zay Flowers. I thought we
Mhm.
weren't going to stay at 22. I
Let's
was
go around the horn, Matt, about Zay Flowers.
absolutely, but I'm saying like to preface that, I even texted Josh Pedro and I said I have a feeling we're going to sit up until 11:30 at night, and it's going to say the Baltimore Ravens have traded out of round 1. And I
Right.
really thought that we were going to move back into like that 34 to 40 range and still be able to get somebody that we thought we could get. But Zay Flowers was the pick. Um, I saw a lot of the initial comments saying about his size, 5'9", 185 pounds.
If one more
Um,
motherfucker says he's Hollywood Brown, like, no, the fuck he's
they're di-
not.
they're they're different
Different. They're
players.
just
I mean,
both smaller receivers. He may be short, but his body is. He takes hits. He goes over the middle. He's not
Right.
Hollywood fall to the ground Brown.
Just like Harbaugh said, he might be short, but he ain't small, right?
Right. He's stocky, man.
Yeah.
he's
Go ahead, Matt.
stocky,
Sorry.
and you're fine. He's stocky. He's fast. He's got good hands. He's got quick twitch movements, and you can see it on the tape. He plays fast on the field. He's not just fast in the 40 and in shorts at the combine. The guy,
He
you
goes
know,
over the middle.
he can do it all, and he's a kick returner on top of that.
Right.
So now this is starting to lead into the territory where we've addressed wide receiver in 2 different ways in the offseason. We signed Nelson Aguilar, who's going to be a fantastic role player.
Who
I mean,
now
he's
looks like
True.
he's like the ribbon on it, man. Now that looks
right.
like a amazing signing. When before it looked kind
He's
of
going to
silly.
be the 4th wide receiver on the depth chart, maybe the 5th. So he's going to be your guy that you bring in to spell one of the speedsters, and he can take the top off. We don't need him to catch 60 balls. If he catches 25 or 30 this year, that's cool. Maybe that, over a
Guys,
17
where does
game.
that leave
You
Devin
sign Odell.
Duvernay? Where does that leave Devin Duvernay?
I think he gets moved, but I don't think it's until training camp if somebody has an
Because he's
injury
now
to him.
probably the 5th receiver on the roster.
And if you count Mark Andrews, he's target number 6.
Yeah.
So, not to get sidetracked from the whole situation, they signed Odell Beckham Jr. to a massive contract, and now in retrospect, we had enough money to where we can make that work anyway. Now with Lamar opening up
Yep.
a maximum of
We're good.
$15 million, we're in a good shape. Now we can go get a corner. We can go get a pass rusher. But drafting Zay and signing those 2, you now have a completely revamped wide receiver room. You got Bateman coming back healthy, and then you got Duvernay, who is the question mark because honestly, Justice Hill is a potentially better man, and he plays all 4 phases of special teams, and he's the occasional change of pace, pass catching receiver out of the backfield. And
Don't
you
forget
never
about
know how
Isaiah
Todd Monk,
Likely and what's his name? Isaiah
Charlie
Likely and the other time.
Charlie Kohler.
Kohler. Yeah.
Charlie Kohler.
This can be this
So
is the most I'm gonna say this out of every single Ravens team I've ever seen, and I've seen all of them. I've never seen an offensive side of the ball with this much talent at the same time. I've never seen it.
Right.
I've seen us have good receivers and the running game be slacky, and then I've seen this for the last 100 million years, the running game be good and the wideouts be shitty. But I've never seen it where we have great running backs and great receivers at the same time. I'm telling you, man, this can be. Lamar has everything handed to him right now. A strong offensive line, strong wideouts. There's no more excuses. His money is done. There's no more. It's time to go win it.
I agree with you, man.
It's time to do it.
Pedro,
Everything is here now.
Pedro, what was your thoughts when you saw the Zay Flowers pick, though? What was your initial reaction?
Actually, man, a couple weeks back before the draft, I tweeted something about Zay that I thought he would be our pick at 22. I
Well,
did. I couldn't see us trading down because he would probably be there, and the Giants and the Cowboys they needed wide receivers too, right? And my first connection with Zay Flowers was back in his pro day because there were multiple reports by Ian and Adam Schefter and people like that the Ravens were one of the most interesting teams on him on the pro day. So that's where it started. But then I was watching some Instagram feed. I was scrolling down and I saw Lamar Jackson's stories about Zay and spreading his merchandising. I guess was a shoe of Zay Flowers, something like that. And then I realized that Zay was a Florida guy too. So I was like, oh, okay, now there's a connection. So it's just linked the dots, and then you watch it. Eric DeCosta the press conference and John Harbaugh conference. They talked about Flowers and how he could make plays, and he was fast. So I figured that he was pretty high on their board, so he was my pick because honestly, I thought the Ravens were going all in for the offense this season, especially after OBJ signing. Because Harbaugh and DC in the postseason press conference, they said they wanted to revamp the wide receiver room, right? So I figured that the idea was really to give Lamar everything they had. They probably tried DeAndre Hopkins, but I guess Arizona wasn't willing to eat his salary cap, and teams weren't willing to send them high picks too. So I think the best choice for them, the best option for them, was to draft a receiver, and Zay was there, so why not, right?
I'm looking forward to seeing what Todd Monken does with this group of
Right, me too.
wide receivers and the tight ends. We got a fantastic number tight end one, and then likely and Kohler are going to be very good second year pros, I believe. So we didn't have a second round pick this year because of the Roquan Smith trade, which panned out very well for us. He was rewarded 6 games into his Ravens tenure with $100 million extension. Uh, that was the first sign of the writing on the wall for Patrick Queen, if there wasn't already writing on the wall up to that point. Not only that,
when
um,
they gave Roquan $100 million and had to give up a second round pick, you weren't the guy, dude. And then DeCosta said today at the press conference or the presser, he said, "Look, I gotta be honest." He was like, Patrick Queen was the best player available. To me, that tells me they were never really that interested in him. They just thought he was the best guy on the board and took him. So, he I know he played well once Rowe got here, but I think at this point it was too little, too late. I'm trying to think about it from his point of view because I do believe the Ravens are prepared to keep him, um, and to keep him and go, Matt. I forgot.
you're fine, buddy.
Remind me. What did I say? Remind me.
You said that they were prepared to keep him, and
Oh
that
yeah,
they
to keep Patrick Queen.
to keep.
But think about it from his side. Thank you. My brain is back. To keep it from his side, he has to go out there. I think his salary this year is $2 million. So can you imagine knowing a team is ready to just throw you away, wash the floor with you, and you're going out there, basically putting your life on the line, like my buddy in Brazil said a few minutes ago. That would
Yeah.
be hard. He did his little girly thing today. He took his Raven stuff off Instagram again. Like, why do these young guys do that? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
It is crazy, man. It also doesn't help the situation when they go into the third round of the draft and they grab an inside linebacker, an off-ball weak side linebacker that is bigger than him, taller than him, heavier
An
than him,
actual linebacker.
and faster than him. Queen's fast, but
And can play corner. This dude can play corner. Did you see
he
that?
he played every defensive position last year at Clemson except for defensive tackle,
Yeah.
which tells you the versatility. That
He had like 100 snaps at corner. It said.
Yeah, he plays everywhere, and the fact that they declined his 5th-year option a day after 2 days after the draft tells you a lot. I think they're probably gonna
That's
wait for the
gotta
perfect.
hurt, man. That's
they're
gotta
going to wait
hurt.
for they're going to wait for the perfect offer. But Simpson, man, this kid looks good. I'm not saying that he's going to be the immediate day one inside linebacker next to.
I had a
Uh,
first round grade on him.
I thought that he was going to be gone somewhere in the second. When I was looking at his all the draft reports, they had him going in the 40s or the 50s, and he fell to 86. We didn't even have to move up to get him,
Yeah.
which was impressive. Josh, what's your initial reaction to the Simpson drafting?
I love it. I think, it's a perfect addition to the defense. It's going to help Roquan. He's going to get to play with Roquan. Um, I think it's unbelievable. It makes our defense a little bit faster. Um, he's kind of similar to Patrick Queen with speed. Patrick's fast, but this kid has way more weight on him. He's an actual linebacker. He can knock you back and put you on your ass. He can also blitz. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I haven't been this excited about a Ravens team in a while, man. Probably 2019 was the last time. This has the potential to be a fun season coming up. It
Yep.
was so dark and gloomy for so long.
And
Everything
4
was falling
days changed
apart.
it all.
We're getting bad reviews from former players, or trainers are breaking motherfuckers' backs, and everybody's flipping the fuck out, and the Ravens are horrible people, and Lamar ain't getting his money, and this and that. It just is like, damn, we're going in next year with fucking Ryan Tannehill or Huntley. Like, it's going to be a fucking 500 year. Lamar's going to be winning with the Falcons or some crazy shit. But it all just came together. Boom, we got surprise Lamar. Boom, we get Zay Flowers, who I was hoping we could get him, but I just had a feeling Dallas or fucking Dallas was the main one. Was just like Des. I had like Des
Oh, I
Bryant
had Des Bryant.
flashbacks. I was like,
Yeah,
they're going to jump, or the Giants are going to jump a spot ahead of us and grab him. And then once I was like, oh, we can get him, and we got him. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus.
Pedro, what's your initial reaction to Trenton Simpson?
Actually, I like him a lot, but when the pick came in, I believe a lot of fans were upset with the choice because everybody was just like, "Oh no, give us a corner, a corner. We need a cornerback, not a linebacker." But after when you start to think about it, I thought it was a really good pick because they help us project the future, right? Just like the wide receiver, the Zay Flowers pick. Did we need it, Zay? After resigning OBJ and Nelson Aguilar? Probably not. But I think he can be an assurance plan if something happens with Rashad Bateman or Odell Beckham himself, or even next year. OBJ is a free agent again, right? So we can project the future of the position with him, and the same thing with Simpson because Quinn will be a free agent next year, and his 50 year option wouldn't be cheap, and we wouldn't be able to pay two linebackers probably.
No, it
So
was like $14 million or some crazy
right,
shit.
exactly, and it was a good move actually because Simpson is not just an athletic guy. He's flex, so he can play safety, he can play nickel, he can play edge rusher, he can play inside linebacker. So he's pretty much a linebacker built like Kyle Hamilton. He can play anywhere around the defense, and I really think that Mike McDonald is a guy that loves that. He wants these guys to be able to play a lot of spots just to create confusion and rest other guys as well. So I think it was a pretty good pick. The value was right too because he was projected to be a second round. So about 40 to 50, and we got him at 86, so it was a great move. I like it, man. And he seems like a Raven, right? He's aggressive, he's violent, he can tackle. So it checks all the boxes for me.
The last thing you said, Pedro, he can tackle, and
Yeah,
if you look at his film, everything
right.
they showed on the TV during the draft, and then if you look at his highlight film, I mean, I know highlights are meant to be the best plays you make. The man is a sound form tackler, and for years, Josh, we have been bitching about Patrick Queen going for the big hit and not using
Bounce
his
it off.
arms
Think.
not using his arms
He's
to
like
wrap up. Now,
he's like
Pedro,
a ping
this
pong ball.
this guy is an ankle biter too. He will get down to your shoelaces to tackle you,
And
and
play.
he played his ass off to get it to that spot. And And the fact that we didn't have to move up to get him was what made me happy. Now we started to address some other needs on the team in the middle rounds of the draft. We only had one pick on day 2, which was okay. I mean, I'll take Roquan Smith over anybody that would have been available in the 40s.
Right.
So
I think
uh,
Tavius Robinson, that was our 4th-round pick the next election.
yes,
I
Yeah.
think he's a raw talent. He's that's what scares me because Owe was kind of that way. But he has potential. One thing I like about him is, man, he has bend. If you look at his college highlights, you see some of his sack highlights. He has bend, and you'll never see Owe sack highlights in college because he never sacked nobody. We took him in the 1st round. The guy has no fucking bend. And I'd like to see the scout who wrote his report because the guy has no bend. All great pass rushers have bend. But this kid looks like he has it. I've seen about 3 or 4 highlights all day as I was watching on these guys. So that's exciting too, man. But drafts, look, guys, everything we're all saying is all fantasy. You can't judge a draft on 4 or 5 years down the road. This is all fantasy. We're all,
this is
when
just
we
initial
drafted,
reaction. I'm not saying
when
I'm
we
not giving it a
drafted
grade by
Justice
any
Hill,
means.
when we drafted Justice Hill, I was like, this motherfucker's the next fucking LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah.
So my only, when it comes to drafting pass rushers right now, like our history in the last 3 or 4 drafts with pass rushers have not been good. We had Owe, who was a project in the terms of pass rushing. The dude's a natural athlete, and then he had that amazing game 1 against Kansas City, beating Orlando Brown Jr. like a drum for most of the game, making plays, causing havoc. Then, we draft Jabo the following year, and he pops his Achilles at the Michigan Pro Day. It gives you pause because he didn't see the field until week 16 this past year, which was an incredible feat in itself because he popped an Achilles and came back in the same calendar year. And then this year, we wait till the 4th round to address the need. We didn't sign any pass rushers. We brought back some interior linemen. All of our interior linemen returned with the exception of Calais Campbell. But I'm just hesitant right now because the pass rushers haven't really developed under the DaCosta regime the way that they did in the last few years of Ozzie. And 2 that come to mind, Pedro and Josh, Zadarius Smith and Matt Judon were mid-round draft picks, and they blossomed in. They were late bloomers, but they blossomed into legitimate fear-inducing pass rushers, and they went on to other places and got paid. But it just gives you pause when he's only got 11 and a half career sacks in the college ranks, which is 11 and a half more than Owe had at Penn State. So, Josh, I know that you kind of led us off with that. Confident that Robinson can be a great rotational piece for us?
I am, but not this year. I don't think he's going to do it this year. I think he's too raw. I think he's got a lot of learning to do. I don't see him on the field much this year. Future years to come, I think he was taken as a project. Look, they got to go out and get some veteran-proven edge guys that are better than Owe. I know there's no superstars out, but maybe get a Clowney for a season. Because does he get a lot of sacks? No, but he does get pressure, and he's better than Owe.
And he sets the edge very well.
Yes, he does,
Right.
and he's better than Owe. And you can probably get him really cheap right now. And he's been staying healthy lately.
I have an affinity for Justin Houston, but I don't think he's going to come back on the cheap after a 10-sack year.
Matt, stop it.
I know.
Yeah, it's time for Justin to go. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen Brian McFarland from Russell Street tweeting something about Justin Houston's situation today. That the Ravens might opt to tender him as an unrestricted free agent. So it could work. His cap would be like 3.5 million, I
What the
guess,
hell?
something like that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It would be a great solution, right? Because I think everyone wants Houston back, right?
I don't.
Why not, man?
Because I know he had a lot of sacks last year, but he hit the wall, and that wall is going to get shorter and shorter. I mean, come on. What's his age going to be when the season would start?
34, I believe.
Yeah, that's a lot to ask, man. That's a lot to ask.
Now, I know that Josh was very, very, in depth with Tavius Robinson. Pedro, what was your initial reaction?
I like him. Personally, I wouldn't have drafted him. I had other prospects in front of him, but Office probably evaluated him better than I did. So, I mean, I kind of agree with what Josh said about him being a project. He might not be athletic as OE was, but he showed production at least.
Hmm.
And the thing here about this draft overall is that the key word is versatility, right? We talk about Trent Simpson, and Zay Flowers can play anywhere too. He can play Z, he can play X, he can go in the slot. So the thing I like the most about the pick of Tavius Robinson is that he can play in a lot of different spots. He can go 4 tech, he can go 5 tech, he can play 4 stance, he can go 2 stance, he can go outside linebacker. So he can provide depth on a lot of different places as well.
Hmm.
So he can be a backup for Broderick Washington Jr. He can be the third string behind Justin Houston if he comes back, and David Ojabo as well, which is my guy for this year. I like him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
And always kind of complicated because I don't think he has that knack for the pass rushing. Since he's a great natural athlete, I would try moving him to strong side so he can play with Tyus Bowser there. I just think he would be a better asset for him to cover more, to run stop more instead of just going pure press rushing. I would leave that to Houston and Ojabo, but I like the pick. I think it could work because I mean he's really tall, right? He's 6'6", I guess. So
Yeah,
he's a
yeah,
pretty
he's
big.
tall.
He's pretty big and he's very very athletic as well for a guy from his size. So he will need to listen to coaches for sure, and coaches will have a lot of things to work with him. His technique isn't good too. He kind of reminds me of Pernell
Yeah, he's
McPhee a
raw.
little bit, his
Yeah,
his
he's raw.
frame. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
very
frame.
raw.
Yeah, he's got a
But
big
he's
motor though.
right. That's what I was going to say. He has a big motor and he's just pure raw power, man. He's very strong. He reminds me a bit of Pernell McPhee on that side.
That's a good
Just a
comparison.
right, just a big guy, physical, and he needs to work a little bit on his run stopping, a little misfield tackles too, but that's coachable, I guess.
Definitely is. I'm looking forward to seeing him, be a nice piece to the rotation. I don't see him being a starter by any means, but I think to spell everybody, the fact that he can play the 3, the 5, and stand up
All
edge.
all D linemen on the Baltimore Ravens get in the game. You're guaranteed you're
Yeah.
getting in it. You're getting in at
Right.
least 10 plays, five
Especially my
plays.
boy Brent Urban. Brent
Yes.
Urban is we brought him back for another. I've always been a Brent Urban fan, but he is this is going to be
You
an
see that
interesting
big
defensive
ass
line.
white arm in there with the big ass
He
arm
does the
out the.
job, right?
He does. So round 5, we addressed we
What?
addr- we addressed cornerback in round 5 with a second generation NFL player, Caillou Blue Kelly from Stanford. His dad was a 10-year defensive back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was actually okay with the pick. I was waiting for us to address cornerback. I was thinking that we were going to go cornerback in the first round, especially with
I
Joey
wasn't.
Porter. With Joey Porter Jr. sitting there, I thought that they were going to do it. And then in the fifth round, I thought that we were going to get Kelly Ringo from the Georgia Bulldogs, but he went to the Eagles with the second pick of round 5, so he didn't quite fall to us. But I like this. He plays the ball very well. He's aggressive and he tackles.
Don't forget about Armour Davis and Pepe either. Now.
Right.
And then we claimed Trayvon off waivers from the Las Vegas Raiders, who happens to be the I think the second cousin of Lamar Jackson. So we also
Right.
brought back Daryl Worley, and
I like Worley, man.
after so do I. I don't like him to
Kevin
be
Seymour as well.
Kevin Seymour as well. I don't really like uh, Worley being cornerback too. I think we need to go get somebody. I think the ship has sailed on Marcus Peters. Um, but we have a lot of young corners that are going to be competing for not a lot of spots. If we don't bring in another safety, I think we can slide Brandon Stevens back to the free slash strong safety role to kind of give an extra spot to a
He's
corner.
better at that role, man.
He
I
is.
He's
agree.
not. He's at when he's not a one-on-one corner.
He's not. He's
He
not a
gets
turn.
beat too
He's
He's
much.
he's
not.
not. He's not a turn his hips and go kind of guy. He plays
He's
No.
better.
not.
He plays better in space. I will say that. You guys are right. Um, I think that he's going to push for one of those roster spots, whether it's Pepe or Jalen, who, they both battled injuries all year. Pepe got picked on when he was, in the games. I think that you got to really take a chance and see what these young guys are made of. So I think Kelly's going to push some of these second and third year corners to really either prove themselves or get out of the way. He has the ability to move inside and out, and like you said earlier, Pedro, McDonald loves versatility at every level of his defense. And if you got a guy that can play nickel inside, he can play on the outside and be physical about it. I think that he's a good pick, a good value pick for in the later part of the draft.
Yeah, I agree, man. The thing I like the most about this pick is, I mean, how physical he is, right? He kind of reminds me of Marlon Humphrey a little bit, just in that kind of sense, that he's very physical and he doesn't allow the receiver to be comfortable. He's very sticky and he don't give up plays too. So that's kind of the guy that we needed, right? Because Marcus Peter, we can play the torn ACL card, but Peters wasn't good last year. He gave up a lot of plays and just showed poor effort, as my opinion. I like Peters, but he wasn't good last year, and we kind of need a guy like that just showed that he can play hard and he won't give up on plays and he won't take it easy on receivers. And he could be a good guy for the depth, but we need to address the position yet. We need someone like a veteran, maybe. I can see Office going after Peters again, but I believe they will sign Rock Yassin. It's probably the clear move right now. And I think actually they will try to sign both, and then we'll have a better depth for sure.
Josh, how do you feel about the Kelly pick?
Oh, I like it. He's a big physical corner. And I think, like you said it, Matt, he's going to push Armour Davis and Pepe, to be able to play. Like, as your guy's second year, you got to start clicking and getting it. I'd love to have Marcus Peters back. I equate a lot of last year to injury. I don't think his knee was all the way there. You could tell that he wasn't pressing up on guys, was giving guys
Yeah,
a lot of cushion. I watched a lot of film, and he wasn't jumping routes because he didn't trust that knee. That's his plant leg, and he just didn't trust it. A lot of guys go through that the first year after an ACL. I'm just hoping that next year he could be more of the Marcus. I want him back here really bad, but if we don't, I'm not going to be mad or upset. I would understand.
yeah,
I do think that ship has sailed. I think they're going to go younger, someone a little more better. Peters is starting to, leave his prime. But I wouldn't be mad if he came back, especially on a good deal.
Absolutely. So in the sixth round, we started addressing the last two picks of the draft. We addressed the offensive line, which, uh, with the exception of Ben Powers departing for Denver, I think that they probably had an idea that they have their replacement in house, whether that is
Try to
Patrick
say the sixth
McCary
round pick's
or
name, Matt.
I'm about to, man. Um,
Yeah,
Marsala Amave Lalu. Oh my lord, that is a mouthful.
yeah. I'm just gonna call him the dude from Oregon.
He is a massive human being.
Monster.
These
Looks like
Samoan
fucking
guys are
Maui.
just
Looks
it's
like Maui.
these Samoan guys are just different breeds of humans. He's an offensive tackle, but I think they're projecting him to slide inside. to guard.
Probably. Yeah.
So with left guard being open and Kevin Zeitler being in the final year of his contract, you can really see him, competing for a spot. Now, I think that the Ravens are kind of in a mode now where they're not really going to invest as much money in their offensive line. They gave a lot of money to Zeitler. They gave a lot of money to Moses. Stanley still, I think, the second or third highest paid at left tackle in football. So they got to protect their investment with Lamar now. But I think that they're doing the right thing by getting these guys that can play multiple positions along the offensive line. And I like the pick. He's used to playing in a spread offense, and he's got the lateral quickness. The only thing is that he wasn't necessarily the greatest in terms of dealing with speed rush from what I saw on his tape. Pedro?
I mean, it's a depth pick, right? We can't expect much from it from start. I mean, he'll probably be a guy like Bradley Bozeman that was just sitting redshirting all year, learning from veterans. And if an injury happen or if coaches decide it's his time to play, then he'll have to show something. But I'm really counting on Ben Cleveland this year, man. It's up to him to get the job, you know?
Fair enough. Josh?
Look, man, I agree with Pedro. I think he's a project guy, late round, best player available guy. I think he has potential to be a mauler. Yeah, Matt, I saw that on the film too. He's not very good against a speed rush, man. He gets beat. He's a little bit slow off the ball. But that's something that can be coached. He is athletic. I'd like to see Ben Cleveland get in next year too, but he just doesn't look athletic enough to me to do it, Pedro. I hope you're right and I'm wrong. I like I said, I hope he does. He doesn't get low. I know he played a little bit last year here and there and played well when he did get in.
Yeah.
I just don't know how if he's athletic enough. He's just big.
He isn't bad, man. I mean, what the hell is going on with Ben Cleveland, right?
Right.
He can pass protect, he can run block, he has everything he needs, but he needs to pass the conditioning test in training camp from start, you know.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
can fail that 3-4 times again. Like
No, it
So,
doesn't look good when you're in the
no.
NFL and that's your job to play a sport. You come in overweight.
we've also had players on the show, Josh, that have said that Harbaugh's conditioning test is notorious for being the toughest in the league.
Yes, we have. That's true.
I think you got to run 10. I think that you got to run 10 100-yard sprints in under a certain amount of time. So, and I think it's intervaled. So, yeah, I can understand players not passing at the first go round if they're offensive linemen. And to round out the draft class, the Ravens traded a 2024 6th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns, and we took Andrew Voorhees from USC. He is a very talented offensive lineman. He was
Probably
probably
would
going
have
to
been a
be,
second, third round pick.
Yeah.
and he tore his
Genius.
ACL. He tore his ACL at his pro day. Eric came out on the.
He's a mauler, dude. You see his film, bro? He's a beast.
He is.
He's pretty good.
And
He's
the thing is,
aggressive as shit.
we're gonna immediately put him on the IR when the
Of course, let
training
him
camp
heal.
kicks
He's gonna
off.
get paid to get better.
He is gonna have a whole year to rehab. He's the odds-on favorite to replace Kevin Zeitler. That's how much they like that guy. Or, I personally believe that Filele is going to get in shape and that he's going to eventually take over for Morgan Moses. I think we're going to have a very young and athletic and dominant offensive line in 2024. I think we're going to have a dominant line this year, obviously. But I think it's going to be a lot of young guys and then Stanley as the lone holdover,
Right.
moving forward. But I like this pick. I like it that he's going to sit down. He's going to get professional, recovery process and gets the rehab. And hopefully with the new training staff in there, we'll be able to properly rehab him and he can come in 2024. And he's essentially your 6th-round pick next year, which is going to be fantastic value. If he's anything like his college tape shows. So I'm looking forward to that. Pedro, I know that you kind of echoed it. What was your thought when we moved back into the 7th round?
Actually, I was making a sandwich myself when it happened, and I saw the tweet, and I was like, "Oh shit, we're back on the clock." And then I saw the pick. I mean, I love it, right? In my opinion, it was a steal of the draft to get a guy like that. I mean, draft isn't about one single year; it's a 4 or 5 year thing, right? And I think the project for the offensive line is getting clear now that they will keep Stanley as the left tackle. They are counting on Ben Cleveland to step up this season so he can earn the starting job and keep the position for next year. Center, we are locked with Linderbaum. The right guard position, it will be a position battle for Voorhees because he will be a contender for the spot in 2024. He will be a player for us in 2024 only. He won't play this year. And Morgan Moses, I believe he's a free agent in 2025, right?
Right.
Yes.
So I don't know. They can move him. They can stick with Falele there. They can opt to go younger with Falele. I mean, he's a big guy, but he needs to lose some weight. I think he needs to get faster reactions too. And they can probably draft a guard high too, maybe in second round next year or a first round, depends. I don't know. But the projection for the future seems nice to me. Stanley, Cleveland, Linderbaum, Voorhees, and Falele. If they develop well enough, I think it can work.
Absolutely. So to round out the show tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the undrafted free agents. Fun fact for the undrafted free agents this year, we brought in running back Keaton Mitchell from Eastern Carolina University. He is the son of former Ravens safety Anthony Mitchell, who won a Super Bowl with us in Super Bowl 35. And he is projected, he came out of college with the biggest projection for big playability per snap last year at the college ranks, and he is one of the fastest college players to come out of the draft this year. We also took we also signed Demas from Maryland. He's a wide receiver, and we brought in uh, Corey Mayfield Jr. from Texas San Antonio. We got some pretty good undrafted free agents. I don't really know a ton about them. It's not like last year where we had the local guys like Diego Fago from Navy. So
Oh, we signed the Nebraska tight end, Travis Vokalek.
yep,
Yeah,
we signed
wow.
we signed him,
I thought he got drafted.
and then we signed a local guy, Pedro from Baltimore. He played his high school football at Baltimore City College here in Eastern Baltimore. Malik Ham, he played at Lafayette,
Yeah,
and Lafayette seems to be a breeding ground for Baltimore athletes. I know quite a few football players uh, that have come from UL Lafayette. So you kind of dove in a little bit, Pedro, on Twitter.
hmm
Who stands out to you with the undrafted free agents?
yeah. I have five guys that I will probably take a better look into. You already said three names of them, like Mitchell, Demos, and the third one I forgot the name.
Was it Mayfield or Vokalek?
Mayfield, yeah, right, Mayfield.
Okay.
Um, Here's the thing, man. Mayfield and Owen Wright from Monmouth, the running back, both of them they were top 30 visits with the team before the draft, so they already had interest on them before, so it's worth take a look into them. And the fifth guy for me is Jalen Thomas from SMU. He's a very versatile offensive lineman, and since our depth isn't very good at this point, I think he can make it. I mean, every year we have like one or two undrafted free agents make the team. So if we count the spots that he played the five different spots in the whole in the offensive line there. I have his numbers here. Wait,
You're right.
he had like 2,200 snaps as left tackle, almost 400 as left guard, almost 100 at center, almost 200 right guard and almost 700 as right tackle. So keeping a guy that can be flexible as Patrick McCarry is, for example, it might be an attractive idea for Harbaugh. Like,
And it's going
oh,
to
this
help that
guy, right,
Tristan Castillo is now a New York Jet.
right. You can think about the Castillo example because he used to be a center here, but he also fill in for guard. So I think he can make it if he shows enough effort and that he's good and listen to coaches. I think he can make the team.
I'm excited to see Dante Demas because he was projected by a lot of analysts to go in the 5th or 6th round,
He had a
and we
1,000 yards for 1 year in the Big Ten.
He got hurt, right?
he, he
Yeah,
and the fact that him and Raheem Jarrett both went undrafted and Raheem Jarrett signed with the Tampa Bay
Crazy.
Buccaneers, it was just insane because Maryland cranks out pro wide receivers,
yes they do.
no matter if it's the 1st round or the 5th round or anywhere in between. University of Maryland cranks out receivers. Now I know you're an Alabama fan, Pedro, so that's like wide receiver you down there.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm excited for the undrafted free agents. I'm kind of excited to see where this goes with the upcoming, potential free agent additions. And I had a comment from one of our listeners, Pedro. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. One of our listeners, his name's Carlos Gray. What impact will the Lamar contract have on the future of the NFL, being as though it was done without an agent?
Right, that's a good question. I mean, Lamar wasn't the first player that negotiated his deal without an agent, right? And got top money. Rokon Smith did the same thing, being a linebacker. He didn't have an agent as well, and he got a great deal himself. I mean, I'm not sure if that will be a tendency for players, only if they don't want to pay someone to get themselves a deal. I think that's the main reason Lamar did that. But I don't have much of a strong opinion about it. I mean, depends on the team too, right? If it's the Cleveland Browns, then probably the player might want to take a bigger deal himself and don't give a piece of that to anyone. So
Absolutely, Josh. What do you think, man?
I think if too many guys started dropping agents, I think the NFL would step in and do something like you at least got to have an agent for your rookie deal or whatever. That would be mayhem. These guys aren't prepared, um, to negotiate multi-million-dollar deals. They don't know what the hell they're signing. Lamar, he's getting credit for negotiating his deal, but really Jalen Hurts' agent negotiated his deal. Um,
right,
I'm just thank God that it was Hurst and not what's his name in Cincinnati. Because then,
Joe Burrow.
yeah, thank God. Um, I don't know, man. I think all the guys should have a. I don't think it should be allowed. I know why Lamar did it. He wanted to give his mom that $7-8 million check she got. But come on, bro. I don't know. I don't think this takes this long. Gets this drug out if he had an agent. Because honestly, the first year he was eligible, what was 2 years ago for an extension, he wasn't stepping on the fucking field after winning an MVP.
Very true. Well, folks, that is going to wrap the show for this week's episode covering the draft. Uh, be on the lookout, folks. We got some pretty cool guests coming on the show the next couple weeks. We'll be having former Carolina Panthers left tackle and left guard Justin Wells. He is a Baltimore native. He is a part of the NFL Players Association Baltimore chapter. I had the pleasure of meeting him over the weekend, and he will be coming on the show next week. We should be having some more Orioles coverage coming up. And Pedro, before we let you go, man, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
yeah, you can find me on twitter.com. Uh, Hormis underscore is my last name and underscore after it.
Thank you so much for joining us and taking some time out of your life to talk some Ravens, man. I can't wait to see what's going on with you for the season. We'll definitely keep in touch and have you back on, Pedro.
Get
Sure.
out there with them pretty Brazilian girls, man.
You can add me. Once you come to Brazil, you can text me and I will introduce you to some chicks. Don't mind about it.
All right, all right, all right.
You're gonna get us in trouble, Josh. But go
I'm
ahead and
like,
sign
no,
us
I
up.
ain't going there, damn Brazil. All right.
Right.
We're about to shut it down. I ain't got to say the sad Lamar shit no more because he signed and we're going to win a Super Bowl.
I'm excited, man. I haven't been excited for a season in a long time. I mean, looking at our offense on paper, it's like the best offense we ever had, probably. So
Absolutely. There you have it, folks. Tune in again later this week. We will be live on either Thursday or Friday.
Get out the man